coronavirus pandemic has affected nearly every aspect of our lives. Due to the need to social distance, the performing arts have come to a virtual standstill. As the theater industry tries to figure out what the future looks like as we cope with COVID-19, we dropped in on Nicole Vanessa Ortiz, who was set to star in Paper Mill Playhouse's production of Sister Act right when the pandemic hit. We talked to her about how she's stayed creatively active during this time and what she sees for the future of theater.
So Nicole, what were you doing right before the quarantine hit in March?
I was in the first week of rehearsals for Sister Act the musical, which was being produced and put up at the Paper Mill Playhouse in Millburn, New Jersey. And we were rehearsing out of New York City at the 42nd Street Studios in Times Square.
So you're in the rehearsals and it's going well and you're ready to star in this fabulous musical. How did it happen when you were told this is all paused?
We stopped rehearsals at the end of our first official week. We had finished all of Act 1, and we were thinking we won't be in this quarantine for that long. March turned into April, and April turned into May. And, for what it's worth, it was a beautiful experience because before we shut down the rehearsals, my time spent with the choreographer, the director, and all of my castmates was just a beautiful experience. So all of that led to my confidence in thinking that, okay, if we got this much work done in this little bit of time, COVID can't stop us. We're going to come back and we're going to just spend one more week and then we're going to go into press reviews. Like, that's how I looked at it. But now here we are, it's August, and it's just like, I know I can speak for most of the cast. We still know our combo routines. And it's just like, we're just waiting for the green light. We're waiting for that bit of sweet news to hear on the phone.
You're a performer. What have you been doing to stay creatively fulfilled during this time?
Well, once we got the news that Paper Mill decided to just indefinitely cancel until further notice the production of Sister Act, my husband and I decided to put together a virtual benefit concert for COVID-19. We put together this show called 6 Feet Apart, a COVID-19 relief concert. And it was released to YouTube. My musical director, his name is Eugene Gloat. Him and I, we put together a set list of songs we can look at differently now that we were in social isolation. And it just so happens that because of that YouTube charity show, I'll actually be doing an encore of it publicly for an outdoor dining theater experience with Paper Mill Playhouse's Carriage House restaurant.
How do you think the theater industry has handled the pandemic?
Theater is juggling a lot of brainstorming activity between social distancing, safety guidelines, and the future of bringing theater entertainment home without losing money in live theater itself. And so I think the theater industry is having a slow learning curve because that's really all they can do right now. But I'm hopeful because they're trying to do something. And as a performer for theater, I think, the theater community needs to continue staying encouraged. It's important for us to stay connected to each other and create with each other. I've been seeing a lot of that on social media, and it's really been warming my heart.
What would make you as a performer feel comfortable to return to the stage?
The first thing that comes to mind, and it's probably, a long way to go, individual dressing rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Thermometer check-ins at security, mask wearing in and out of the building, of course, antimicrobial sanitation of stage spaces and theater spaces, fruits and vegetable platters for the performers when they arrive, making yourself a plate of superfood boosting, items. And probably no more 2 show days.
The coronavirus pandemic is not the only crisis our country has faced during the past few months. The Black Lives Matter movement and issues of racial inequality have become just as prominent as the pandemic in our social consciousness. How have you been affected during this time?
On May 25th, I was getting ready to put on the virtual concert that we were speaking about earlier. And on Tuesday is when I saw the George Floyd video. Tuesday was my appointment to do the video shoot for this quarantine concept. And I remember thinking, should I cancel this? Because the concept is so out of touch with what's happening at this very point in time. And I was worried that that particular concert would appear tone deaf to everything that was going on. And when I sat down with my husband and my musical director, and we went over the set list, we were so fortunate enough to find that the thematic concept of the lyrical messages within the set list of songs that we had chosen still lended itself to what was happening. I was doing the recording for The Impossible Dream from Man of La Mancha. I was still processing Ahmaud Arbery. I had a lot of suspicions about that clip. And there was a lyric in that song, The Impossible Dream, to run where the brave dare not go. I had to redo that take. Everything was just too close to home at that particular time. And when I think about Ahmaud Arbery, when I think about George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all the other stories that we haven't even yet to hear or yet to see, what I want to make very clear is that Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. I've lost followers for it. I've had uncomfortable conversations with people that I'm close to about it. I've had productive conversations as well with people that I have relationships with. Black Lives Matter. The idea is absolute. Black Lives Matter.
What are your hopes for art as we move forward?
You know, theater is an art form. It is provided to the mass, audience consumption for the hope that we not only shift their emotions, we not only give them an escape, reality from life itself, but we also use it as a platform to inform and to, encourage them to see things differently in contrary to how they were taught to look at them. When we think about booking Black people for roles that were dominated by white people, we're not asking you, book me because I'm Black and it fits the time now to cast Black. We're saying, treat me the way you would a white person and acknowledge the same amount of hard work I put into it. And make your decision based on the humanity of this character, not the visual of this character. If I'm right for the job. I don't want to just be right for the job because I'm Black and I fit your token to cast Black diversity. I want to book a job because as a human being, I brought something to this story that can be seen differently, and I just happen to be Black. But I also want to see stories created for Black talent that doesn't circulate around oppression, pain, and trauma. I want to see Black stories that celebrate narratives that talk about the triumphant elevation of human growth. We need to build more range. When theater returns, I just want to make sure that it doesn't return with the idea of, okay, this year we just have to do all Black casting, because if we don't, then it's going to make us seem tone deaf to everything that happened. I want you to want to cast me. I want you to see that I'm good enough for casting, not because of what just happened. I'm glad that you're using it as motivation to shift your perspective on how casting should be done, but I don't want that to be your reason.
Nicole, what is next for you?
September 10th and 12th, an encore of 6 Feet Apart, a COVID-19 release.
We're so excited.
With Paper Mill Playhouse's Carriage House restaurant.
Nicole, thank you so much for talking to us about this, all these important things going on and how it's going to affect the theater industry and the arts going forward. We We so appreciate your time, and we wish that you stay healthy and safe,
Thanks.
and that you and your fellow performers help guide us through this next period.
Thank you.